But now I would love to introduce Ronit Borer Hillel. So Ronit is Senior Director of Engineering at Smartsheet. She has 20 years experience in both corporate and startup companies. And prior to joining Smartsheet, a cloud-based work execution platform, she led AI innovations and the Alexa Skill Kit conversational tooling team at Amazon. And she will be discussing the benefits of transitioning from on-premise data to the public cloud. So her speech is called Journey to the Clouds, Challenges of Moving from On-Prem Data Centers to the Public Cloud and Why It's Worth It. Thank you so much for joining us. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be with you. Can I just share my screen? How it goes? Okay. Is it good? Can everybody see my screen?
We can see it perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Ronit Borer Hillel, and I'm a Senior Director in Smartsheet. And I'm really excited to be part of this awesome charging reboot conference that we have here in the next day and a couple of days. I wanted to share with you an amazing journey that we are going through as Smartsheet, a journey to the cloud. I'm going to share with you all the challenges of moving from on-prem data centers to public clouds and share with you why it's worth the hassle. What's the gain that you're going to get out of this? So how many of you, I don't know, raise your hand, how many of you have been in a company that have data centers or work in a company that have data centers? Just to get everybody on board, data centers are those physical facilities that organizations use to house their critical application and data. So they are actually physical buildings and machinery and hardware to have that in. I know that I've been part of a couple of companies like that. And how many of you had those production breakage, some router configuration went wrong, or the hard disk failed, or even worse, a tractor came and ran over a cable to the data center and the whole data center went down. I saw and experienced a lot of those problems, and I'm sure that some of you have done that as well. Those are really painful. And the thing is that it's even more painful now with COVID-19, because think about flying an engineer to fix a data center physically and all the implications that are related to that. So some of you may say, okay, yeah, but I can pay someone. There are a lot of vendors that are willing to actually maintain facilities and hardware and take care of that. But it's still your facilities, and you still own those relations with the vendors. Your involvement with this hardware and facility is very intense, even when you use vendors for this. The problem is not that all of those problems are having. The problem is actually that those hardware and facility problems are your problem, and they're not your core business. And it's a lot of hustle to do something that is not your core business. So let's go to the what if scenario. What if you could actually get yourself free from all of that, able to focus only on your customer and business 24/7? And the thing is that what if is becoming a reality. It is already a reality, and that's called the cloud, the public cloud offering that is served by different vendors around. It's provided the freedom of taking away from you all those managing and provisioning and maintaining and scaling of your hardware. Now, to be transparent, I don't work in a public cloud vendor company. I work at Smartsheet, and Smartsheet is a collaborative work management platform that aligns people and technology, allows you a no-code platform to empower easy project and product management capabilities. So we are SaaS, which I'll explain soon what it is, but we are not a cloud vendor. So I'm not going to tell you any of that. So let's look at a little bit about data on this cloud transformation. And before we do that, I wanted to actually share with you, to get us all to the 60-minute time definition of what is cloud computing. So we'll be on the same place. So cloud computing is an on-demand availability of computer system and resources without direct active management of the user. So you're going to get all this hardware and services, but you're not going to be handling and managing them. There are practically several types of cloud computing, but there are three that are main. SaaS, which is what software as a service, which company provide the ability to receive software services over the cloud. It really is an example for that is your email service, right? That's a service over the cloud. Smartsheet is a SaaS. It provides project management capability over the cloud. Another type is PaaS, which is platform as a service, which provide you a set of services and workflow targeting mainly developers that give them tool and processes and API to test and deploy and develop all that they have done. And the last one, which is most critical when you think about cloud services, is actually the IaaS, the infrastructure as a service, which is the computing infrastructure such as network, storage, the ability to have compute power, and the ability to provision over the internet and so on. And usually those come as pay-by-use services. When we think about this transformation away from your on-prem data center to the cloud, we actually mainly think about the IaaS, the infrastructure and service, and a little bit about the PaaS. Those two offerings are the one that will allow us to replace the data centers. So now let's look at the data. The cloud transformation is happening. If you look just on revenue worldwide, you see that this has been drastically growing in the last 4 years, with getting all the way to the $30 billion mark in just Q1 2020. We have serious players in place, whether it's Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and a bunch of other players that are playing in this field. So serious vendors are offering their goods. When we look at ourselves, just an anecdote, 77% of enterprise companies already have something in the cloud. And a lot of startups and other companies are already there. So it's been a shift in the last couple of years. If we look to the future, this is where we expect practically 81%, which is a combination of public and private clouds, of the global IT workloads to be on the cloud versus those on-prem data centers that we have today. So this is a huge shift that is going on and will be taking us forward. So I love this quote from Socrates and it's good for a lot of different things. But as Socrates said, is smart people learn from everything and everyone. And because all of us here are really smart people, I wanted to share our journey through the most significant architecture transformation of this last decade, the cloud transformation. And maybe we can help and provide some learning to all of you. So I'll take you a little bit into our memory lane. About 14 years ago, when our company was built, Smartsheet, we wanted to provide our customer with a SaaS solution. At those days, Amazon was just launching Elastic Compute in 2006. And later on, Azure, IBM, and even Google came up with very initial services in 2008. So cloud was just born as a real thing, as a real offering. It was really early stages. We needed data centers. We needed something that can allow us to, hardware that can allow us to serve our business. And we used those data centers to do so. And we were not the only one. There are many companies that actually build their own data centers and found solutions through their data centers to serve their software over the internet, right? Through these years, we made a lot of investment in our data center. We bought hardware and we got that installed, and we got that with us for several years because it cost a lot of money to replace it very often. We knew that every time we would go to a different market or geographical location, it might mean either even building a complete new data center or just extending significantly our data center. So a lot of investment in this capacity, a lot of money, hard work, engineers that were invested in those data centers. And we're actually, we're holding the heart of our ability to perform well for our customers. So as we were working through our data center, this cloud transformation was gradually built outside. Over the year, we were watching. We made an attempt from time to time to test the water and see how they are. For example, a couple of years ago, significant amount of years ago, we wanted to create an attachment feature for our customers. And we thought about what would it mean for us. And back then, you actually would want to buy a SAN, a storage area network, which is a really fast computer for storage serving. And that would mean heavy work, heavy investment that would have taken a lot of time. At that time, S3, Amazon S3 was already there. It was a young service, but we thought it would be a good opportunity to try. And we gave it a try, and that was a huge success story for us. We were able to launch this attachment capability over S3 really, really fast. And we started to be intrigued about what's the power that this cloud, this public cloud is actually providing us. This was our first attempt in going there. And we knew that this building is still under construction. It actually cannot facilitate what we need. But in the last about 4 years, if we look back, cloud platform offered by different vendors have drastically changed. We noticed that there is some solid public player over there, and they are building diverse set of services from compute to storage to network to tooling on top of that, security and compliance, allowing performance, resilience, elasticity, and scale. All of that was starting to be there very significantly. We started playing around, experimenting to actually understand how do we take this huge on-prem data centers we have with our software and think about how should we consider this cloud offering as a possibility for us. And it took us a couple of years to mature in that direction. For us, the most appealing thing was that cloud services open up an infinite resource pool of services, scalable in every moment, requiring really low effort on us. So if we wanted to grow, we didn't need to buy hardware and do this intense planning session and wait 3 to 6 months till we get this hardware we need. We can actually just play with some setting and here we go. We have huge compute power in our hand. And that was a huge win, not just for us, for any company to think about vast growth. This enabled us to practically create this hive of services that we can actually use and multiply in multiple geographical location as we grew our market. And if you follow our company, we grew drastically in the last 4 years. So for us, this was a really important part, the elasticity of growth, the easiness of growth, the penetration to multiple geographical location played a really important part. So when I talked to some of our engineering managers, one of them told me that when you think about what we are getting out of those cloud vendors, we practically get thousands of engineers building services for us in really low friction of cost. And that is huge. We couldn't be competing over those building of services that the cloud vendors provide. The amount of resources Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and IBM are investing in this cloud is huge. And we are able to just pay and enjoy that with, it's not cheap, but it's not, definitely you're not paying the cost of building those services. So we are going to be moving to the cloud. And we started asking ourselves questions. And the first question we had is, how are we choosing the right vendor for our business, right? Like, who will we go with moving from our data centers? So we asked ourselves, what is our company need and what are our business constraints? We started from the customer to see if any of our customers are sensitive to a specific cloud vendor in the market. We checked if we have any business advantages to adopt one vendor. There are different flavors to those vendors around. We want to see what kind of compliance those vendors already support. GDPR, HIPAA, those are really strong compliance requirements that exist today, and there are more. We wanted to consider security requirement that we have, and we wanted to validate that security is addressed well through these different vendors. We thought about geographical location and where they are spread. Happily, most of them are spread very wide nowadays. We then moved to learn about the scale and performance of the different cloud services that we would be considering to use. We wanted to check what is the SLA, what is the cost of scaling, how elastic those services are. So elasticity is about this dynamic ability to understand our software grow and have the hardware almost automatically grow with that demand. We ask what kind of skills our engineer would need to learn in order to facilitate and use those cloud services, and what will be beneficial for them. We look to see more innovative cases. A lot of time, if your company is engaged with machine learning, you would learn that there are different flavors needed, especially around training and the cost of training, that not all cloud vendors are able to support and provide. Sometimes you need even very strong machines that are cutting edge, and again, not always there. We last look at future scenarios. So what if we want to move our data out of that cloud vendor? What does that mean? And you'll interestingly learn that this is a really, really hard one to do. And we discovered happily that many of those big cloud vendors can actually facilitate all of our requirements, and we ended up choosing one of them. So after going in and thinking about what should we choose, we learned also that this is not a plug and play. It's not that one day we can wake up in the morning and be in the cloud. It doesn't work this way. Our application is designed for the data center to maximize the abilities of the data centers. We optimize for operation and scalability, and we optimize capabilities through the settings that we have. So, for example, we grew from a startup. So we had this big monolithic hub. It was highly functional, and over our data centers, we were able to utilize it really well. But when you think about the cloud, this is where you actually truly need to decouple your services. If you want to enjoy this elasticity and growth and this automatic decoupling, you need to think about making containers and utilizing Docker and Kubernetes to automatically have application deployed. You cannot really do that with a large monolithic app, so you need to start thinking about how you slice and dice that parts. It's a big re-architecture and a very significant impact on the work that we were thinking about doing. We learned that there are probably two ways to go. One is that re-architecting, really utilizing every capability and every service component, making small components, thinking about microservices or any other architecture that make those really small components. But the other approach would be actually lift and shift. Take what we have, make minimal adjustment, and just move it to the cloud. The advantage of that approach is actually that we can put aside the physical facilities of data centers and have all of that in the cloud. And now that we got rid of the need of taking care of our infrastructure, we can actually be free to think about decoupling and re-architecting. And that's what we chose doing. The other part was interesting is, what do we choose? One vendor, two vendors, several vendors? It's all about relationship. You can actually think about settling down with one partner for life and be with just one vendor, enjoy every small functionality and advantage they have, get really well to know them. Or you can have those casual relations. Use one vendor and then see that the cost is better in another vendor and just jump over there. And another option is to think about topic-based relation. It's like having a partner to do ski and another partner to do squash. So you have a partner to do machine learning and you have another partner to do storage, and think about having different partners. we learned that if we want this flexibility, we would need to be cloud agnostic. Cloud agnostic means that we don't know any specific cloud at all. It means that we need to build a very good API layer, abstraction layer on top of all this cloud and between our application and the cloud. The challenge with that is that you end up spending a lot of resources in building this abstraction layer, and you can only address the common denominator of all those vendors. So you cannot really use and utilize them to their best, and that's a problem. We made a decision to go with a mix of settling down with a major partner and using topic-based two things we thought that are not well addressed in others. So for example, we are more focused on in machine learning, in thinking about other vendors that are very good in machine learning, and we are settling down most of our things in one specific vendor. So this is a really important decision that you all would want to make when you think about cloud choices. Now, the voyage to the public cloud for us, it's still in flight. We are not done yet, none so ever. We realized that we could improve our way to operate and better serve our customer. We were able to quickly deploy and scale without the need of managing those hardware and provision for the hardware. So we had an operation organization in Smartsheet, and we ended up not needing a whole organization focused just on maintaining those data centers and making sure that they are robust. The other thing that the notion that we need to start decouple our monolithic app changed our thought about quality. Because when you have this huge monolithic app, you need to have probably a centralized QA team that can actually test scenarios all across the application together, because everything is end up launched together. So those two parts made us think how we can actually make our organizational structure better and more fitting to serve our customers in this changing reality. And we decided to move to this DevOps model, where you move from having 3 different organizations, development, operation, and QA, to have service team or product team that own a specific product or service, and they are completely independent. They have their operation and infrastructure inside, and quality assurance inside, and developers inside, and they are autonomous to run their thing. It makes delivery so much faster because they know the customer, they know the production, they know the delivery, they know the product, and they are very well settled to be successful to deliver an area. So we moved to that, and that was a big transformation that maybe when you think about moving to the cloud, you don't necessarily take into account that it will drive some organizational changes. So the public cloud transformation was truly enable us to deliver great customer experience and reach them in every channel, wherever they were and wherever they are. It allowed us to evolve much faster. As our business need grew and Smartsheet grew, we as engineering could actually facilitate this much, much better. It reminds us that our customers are the most important asset that we have. We serve them well when we focus on what we know how to do best, and that's building our product. Using the public cloud services help us focus on our core business, instead of investing a huge amount of our time on infrastructure. And that was a big win. For those of you that are already starting this voyage, we wanted to say that you are on the good path, and we support that path. For those of you who are not there yet, we wanted to invite you to a journey worthwhile taking. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope that I was able to share with you some of our learning through that journey, and invite you to that journey as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronit. I have a couple of questions here that dropped in to the chat box. First one came in from Ukachi asking, well, curious as to how much COVID-19 impacted and is impacting the transition to the cloud in 2020 alone.
So the interesting part is if you follow, you'll see that a lot of companies are actually facilitating cloud services through COVID. I'll give you an example. Think about all those chat platform, video conference platform that we are now using even, right? We're using Zoom for this one. If they would not be able to facilitate elastic growing computing power, they would not be able to stand to that demand. Microsoft Teams is a good example for that as well. They're using Azure to grow and be able to infinitely grow. And that's the power of the cloud. So COVID-19 is actually showing us that with working from home, this need to be able to fastly facilitate the growth of the market in certain areas is really important. There are areas that are really suffering significantly in our economy from COVID-19. But for those areas that are cloud-based and are providing those services, they actually need that growth and are heavily utilizing the cloud nowadays.
Thank you. Also, Stanik is asking, how do I get Smartsheet training as an individual, not through a company?
So Smartsheet have online learning and online training, and you can actually go and create a trial account and go to our online learning. They're very good ones.
Thank you. And I just actually wanted to ask a question as well of like, what do you see like being, or do you see any kind of security issues with all of this like massive transfer from the on-premise to like the cloud?
So security was a very big issue for several years, and justly why? Because when you look at the different cloud vendor, they made investment, but the maturity of the investment was not necessarily there. And I actually use the Gov Cloud as an example. A government cloud is extremely secure, right? And require very high standard to facilitate our government need. And if public cloud vendors are able to provide this Gov Cloud support, it means that this is a vivid example of how their security level has grew drastically. You also need to know that they are part of that bargain. So if you sign up with a cloud vendor, they own their security, they own the security of the infrastructure. So practically there is a very good chance that their security measurement may be better than yours. And if you need to go one step further, you might want to think about private cloud settings, because then you are able to use all the good offering, all the services that those public cloud, those cloud vendors provide in a more private settings. So there are options up there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ronit, and for your talk. And we have Romina, who just came with this comment, a very well explained, simple, and to the point. And I would agree. So thank you so much, Ronit. And yes, stick around for our next talk, which will begin in just a couple of minutes.
Bye.